Hi, this is Abe, and in this video I'm going to talk about the unique constraint in Oracle Database. I'll look at the syntax and then run through an example. So a unique constraint, when applied to a column, ensures that any data added to the column in the future will be unique when compared to data already existing in the column, and no other row will possess the same value for that particular column. A few things to note. The unique constraint can be applied to one column or multiple columns. And then unique by itself allows null values to be added to the column. It only restricts data that's provided for the column to being one of a kind. And keep in mind, the primary key constraint represents the combination of not null and unique. And I've done videos about the primary key and then the not null constraints, so check those out if you'd like. So it's basically a combination of both of those constraints, the not null and unique. So if the intent is to create a single unique identifier for each row in a table, you should use a primary key as opposed to a not null and unique constraints. So let's look at the syntax. Basically 4 ways to add the unique constraint to a column. We'll look at the inline first, basically a create table followed by the table name. And then when you specify the column name and data type, you add the constraint as in line with that column name. You could also do it inline through an alter table and then modify. And this is the inline version of the alter table command. And you should also specify a constraint name for each of those. As mentioned before, it's easier to identify those after if you're just looking at the constraint name. And then the out of line methods, again through the create table and table name, and then you provide the constraint name at the end of the column declarations, and then the alter table out of line declaration through the add constraint. So I've already got my SQL Developer application open. I'm connected to my database. I have a connection here called XEHR. I'm using the HR account, which has some sample data. And I'm going to go through and try out a few of these examples. So for my first example, I'm going to do a create table and then add the constraint inline with this one here. And I'm calling my constraint port ID UN and then follow that by the keyword unique. So I'm basically setting up a unique constraint on the port ID column. I'm going to run that. Got a table created. Now if I do a refresh on my data and I'll look at the ports table and then constraints, and I've got that constraint that I just created. Constraint type unique. I'll do the alter table command to add a unique constraint to the other column, and then I'm going to run that. This table ports altered. If I refresh my data, click on that, and then click on constraints, there you have it, port name UN. That's the other constraint that I just added. So both of those declarations are in line. I'm going to go ahead and do the second two here, which are out of line declarations. For starters, I'm going to go ahead and drop my ports table. This table dropped. Let me refresh my data. And then get rid of these. So now I'm going to create those using the out of line method. I'll copy this. Very similar to the first one, except we're adding the constraint after the column declarations, or the column names and data types. And it's the last statement here, constraint port ID UN, and then unique. I'm going to run that. Table ports created. If I refresh my data, got the ports table again, and then I've got the port ID UN constraint. I can also do the other out-of-line declaration using the alter table. And again, you'll notice that there's only one constraint right now. So I'm going to add this one here. Control Enter. I'm going to close that and then refresh my data. Ports, constraints, and there's my other constraint that I just added. So there you have it. We talked about the unique constraint, went through an example, and verified our results. I'll be posting these scripts to my blog, which I'll link to in the description box below. Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe, like, and share, and see you later.